Right, in this video, we're going to be talking about the list unpacking, and it might be a little bit of a confusing topic, but hopefully with a little bit of practice, we'll kind of see what's going on with this topic here. So let's go ahead and dive into our coding section here. What I have set up for us is in the Python folder inside lesson. I have a new file here called listunpacking.py. So I have some notes pulled up here for us, and with list unpacking, and let me go ahead and zoom in just a little bit here. So list unpacking allows us to assign elements that are in a list to variables. This is going to be a very useful, very powerful when we want to break down a list into individual components, just to make it easier to create variables out of the list. So let's go ahead and add a few lines of code here. And we have an example list here. Again, we're just starting real simple, real basic of numbers. And again, we're inside a list here. We just have 3 numbers. Now, traditionally, we would probably think about putting these in variables such as first equals, and then the numbers. And then we are utilizing what we learned earlier, which is, hey, we are able to access the 0 bucket, right? And then maybe we'd want to come down here and do second and assign that to the first index, and then we'll have a third, right? Now there's a much easier way to do this type of variable assignment. Okay, again, this works perfectly fine, but again, there's an easier way to go about this. So I'm going to comment this out because it's something that we don't want to do. And instead, we want to unpack this. So we want to unpack this in a list of the same 3 variables that we came up with first, second, and third, but we're going to do it all in one line, and it looks very sleek with this one line of code. And all we're going to do is just comma separate the variables, and we're going to base it off of the list that we have that you see here on line 6. So with that said, we can just do first, comma, second, comma, third equals numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And we of course want to print these all out just to demonstrate we get what we should. So I'm going to go ahead and save it and run it. And now we get 1, 2, 3. So again, we were able to separate this. We're able to unpack this list that we have here into 3 variables, all with one line of code, and pulling that, extracting that from the numbers. Let's go ahead and do another example here of fruits, just like what we saw in the previous video. Let me go ahead and scroll up some. So with fruits, we have a list right here of fruits: apple, banana, cherry. Feel free to go ahead and pause the video at this point and see if you can get fruit 1, fruit 2, fruit 3 extracted, pulled out, unpacked from this list. Well, hopefully you ended up getting it, and all we have to do is do fruit 1, fruit 2, fruit 3 equals fruits. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then we can also just print one of them if we want, and we'll get the apple. So now I can go ahead and save that, run it, and I do in fact get apple. All right, now what if we have a problem where we have a list with more elements than variables? And what do we mean by that here? So let's take a look at this right here. So this to our notes, because we will get an error if we don't plan accordingly for this issue. So we're going to go back to the numbers list that we had from earlier, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this time. Now, say I just wanted the first one and the last one, right? So what if I did something like this? I said, you know what? I just want the first, and then I want to set that equal to numbers. Now, if I go ahead and save this and run this, we are going to get an error. So I'll go ahead and save it, run it, and we need to assign variables to the entire list here that we see. We can get away with this by doing the following. We need to put the asterisk. You need to utilize the asterisk operator. Let me put that in notes right here. So the asterisk operator allows us to gather multiple elements from a list and store it into a single variable. Again, very useful when we want to unpack, for this example here, the first and the last elements, and we want to store all of the middle pieces in a separate variable. So the way to go about that, we're going to do the following. We'll do others, then we'll do comma, and then we have the last, right? This is a variable here. Again, we could have named it anything. but we'll do the first, we'll do the others, and then the last. So if I go ahead and save this and just run this section here, notice that I do get 1. Let's see what the others look like. And we're going to get a list because it's going to store that list in that variable. It's saying, hey, let's take a look at this entire thing here and store it there. Obviously, you could omit this last, and the others will just encapsulate 1 more just to show you what that looks like. See how it just added that extra last part of that list? So again, we're utilizing the asterisk here and saying, hey, let's take everything that follows our first variable and store it in there. And then we could totally do a last here and print the last. And that's going to give us the 5. So let me go ahead and save that one last time, run it here. There we go. So we get 1, and then it encapsulates the rest of the list with the 2, 3, 4, and then with the 5, it stored it in that variable that we put right there. So again, we definitely would think about utilizing this. I have one more example here for you. Say, for example, we want the first and second element out of a list. So let me go ahead and bring this up here for a little miniature example. And we have something a little more real world here. We have some student information. Obviously, we have their first name, John, last name, Doe, their age, and maybe their major. And we really only need their first and last name out of this information. We don't need the rest of the items. So what could we do? Let's go ahead and create a variable for their first name. Let's create a variable for their last name. And then let's store the rest in a list item as a catch-all for unpacking this. So we have the first name, comma, last name, and then we're utilizing that asterisk there to grab a hold of everything just so we don't get an error. And it's all coming from student information. I just wanted to throw out one more demo here for you to show you that it doesn't happen to just grab all the middle stuff. We can grab everything after the stuff that we actually have, right? So again, if we wanted to print their first and last name, all we have to do is do the following: print first name, print last name, and let me go ahead and highlight that and run it, and we get John Doe, right? So unpacking with Python and lists, pretty straightforward. You just may take a little bit of practice to try to get the whole concept down, but just know we can have this little wild card flag that we saw earlier with that asterisk as a catch-all so our code doesn't break. So we'll see you in the next video.